Welcome to Stockdogs Unleashed. Get ready for another episode where we dig deep into ranching life and the world of the working dog.
From the ups and downs of handling cattle to training the perfect stock dog, we're sharing it all.
We'll be telling some crazy stories, offering tips and tricks, and of course throwing in a little bit of humor along the way.
Whether you're working on the ranch or just love hearing about it, there's something here for everyone.
So sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get this episode rolling. Well, we're back, guys. We've got Joni Tietjen on, which everyone's been asking about, so we're excited. How's it going?
Really good. It's fun to have you guys.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Do you want to dive right in? Because there's a lot of questions and things we want to get going with. And on kind of your growing up and getting into the stock dog world.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk a little bit about how everything kind of came together for me. I was into horses first. My stepdad had a small ranch and raised horses, and then of course I college rodeoed and was into training a bit and had a horse background. So it started out that we needed a dog to bring cattle up the rope and shoot. I think how many of us have had that, right?
Oh yeah.
So I had a crossbred little dog that I trained to do a lot of cool little things that I thought was, And then I got married and I moved to a ranch in North Dakota, and pretty quickly I just couldn't lose the thought of the working dogs. I'd seen a few, and I'd been to a little trial that was at the Rapid City Stock Show, and I just had working dogs on my mind. But at that time, that was like in 89, 90, basically the only information you could get was there was some little, which I didn't know how to get to that yet, there was a little book called The Ranch Dog Trainer, and then there was the Working Border Collie magazine, but early on I didn't even know where those were. So how it got started for me was the Western Horseman magazine, if you can believe that. I didn't even know where to buy a good stock dog, and there was an ad in the Western Horseman, and it was at that time it was Gary Erickson and his cow dogs, and so I ordered a pup, and it's really funny. I ended up going to a clinic of his, and, at that time, so this will kind of date me a little bit, but in the class of, like in the early 90s class that were at the clinics that Gary did, was guys like Casey Rendell, and he actually was where I ended up buying one of my first really good dogs, a really good border collie. And, it's funny now, I think that as I grew into the dogs, I thought all the dogs would be like my early dogs. I didn't realize we'd hit a spot where it was hard to find those old-fashioned dogs like I got at that time. Mm-hmm. So at that time, there wasn't any sheepdog, cow dogs. It was just good using dogs, and we would get the dogs broke because we all had to use them. The bunch of us that were going to those clinics at that time. We had to use them on the ranch, and then, then we would play with them and maybe hit a trial or, some of that kind of stuff. But it was funny, the dogs did everything. They were sort of the old-fashioned dog that kind of like when, I was a kid, we rode one horse in a whole bunch of events and did pretty good. We'd ride the same horse in the keyhole as we rode in the English or something. Yep. Or we roped on and barrel raced and did the trail. Who knows? I mean, we did everything with them.
That's like the horse trainers too. They back in the day they roped, worked cows, working cow class and everything on the same horse.
Yeah. So I just thought that the dogs were going to be that way, and then I don't know what happened, but anyway, when we were ranching, pretty soon we were broke, and we were trying to pay for a ranch. And at that time, cow dogs didn't bring any money. If you were selling cow dogs, I mean, you were lucky to get $50. I'm kidding, but not really. I mean, ranchers weren't going to spend any money.
Still aren't.
No. Well, yeah. So to try to make the ranch pay, we ended up bringing sheep into the ranch, trying to diversify, and I started working my dogs on the sheep, and I've always been kind of a trainer at heart. So it wasn't long that, we had little trials and little sheepdog things, and I got in a couple of the little local things, and they were like, boy, you really need to, show your dogs. And so what happened is that there was people there that were really excited by the way my dogs worked and the way they ran, and I started winning some of the classes, and then people wanted to buy them, and in the sheepdog world, starting into the trial world, they spent a lot more money than the cow dog people. So I focused when you're broke and you're trying to pay for a place, and all of a sudden you find a market.
A niche
market, and that was for well-broke dogs, and it wasn't super hard to make them at that time. And I shouldn't say that. That makes me feel guilty to say that, but compared to now, they were just a really solid brain that would work a cow and be strong enough and have confidence, but yet went to sheep, and was reliable there too. And while I was in that, I brought over some genetics from Scotland. I begged, borrowed, and stealed, and anything I could do to scratch up the money to bring in a really nice dog from overseas.
Yep.
And that dog really changed my genetics for the sheepdog stuff, and it was really a fun ride for me, and I concentrated on that for quite a while.
Yeah. What's in the 90s, a pup from Scotland worth?
Well, so this dog actually won the Scottish National Nursery Champion, so he was expensive.
Yep.
But the puppies at that time, I can't remember what we were given for them, but, it wasn't crazy.
It wasn't like it is now.
No, mostly now the cost of getting them here is crazy.
Yep.
And, so I'm not big on importing anymore, but every now and then you'll need to. But there's some really good genetics here. We're getting a border collie now. It's funny. I'll just back up just for a second. So what seemed to happen in that little bit of time when I was kind of just running sheepdogs, I felt like the cattle dog sheepdog grew apart. I felt like people were breeding the cattle dogs or the dogs to be tougher and losing a little bit of feel and think. Because when I came back to do more with some cattle dog lines to put in the sheepdogs, I felt like the sheepdogs were getting weaker, and I felt like the cattle dogs were getting
less feely.
Well, yeah, and just more bite without think. And I'm not sure what was going on, but it just felt that way after about a 10-year absence.
Yep.
It's funny what 10 years of in genetics can do.
Yep. Absolutely.
And so do you think there was a better dog then than there is now, or has it grown to different? What do you think?
I just felt like, I've thought a lot about it. Like the horses don't, you notice how the horses now, how many breeds is there in the quarter horse?
Lots.
Like 6? I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's the cutter and the racehorse, and now we have the barrel horse breed, and which is, anyway,
yeah,
the show horse, the halter horse.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of breeds within the breed, and for a little while, and I think it's a little bit that way with the border collie too, because we have the show border collie, and we have the agility border collie, and we have the, the sheepdog border collie, and we have the cow dog border collie.
Mm-hmm.
But my goal always, and I haven't been able to lose that, is that I just want the dog that can do everything, because here I don't want to keep a lot of dogs. I feel like my kennel being small has helped my dogs be better. So, if I've got my trial dogs in my truck and we have cows on the road, I've got to, I'm going to get them in. Or when we're moving cattle, I'm using the same dogs that are in my kennel. The same dogs that I'm going to take to Meeker are the dogs that I do all I work with.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just always looking for it. And I'll be honest, I've been kind of crossing the sheepdog lines with the cattle dog lines and trying to find something that suits me.
Yep. What you kind of like. And that's I think with the horses, it's easier to get what you want because you go to a cutting, they're all judged the same.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're all going to the exact, so everyone's going on the same, what they want. The halter classes, everyone knows what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's true.
And with the dogs, I like a dog different than you, Chance like a different dog than me, and then so there's no way to really get it solid. I think.
That's absolutely true. So for me, like I've changed a lot of things over the years, especially how I look at the dogs. Now what I want from the dogs is I want them, so I can even start out with a dog that doesn't have a ton of feel, and I can build some of that. Or I can't build it. Maybe I bring it out if it's in there. Mm-hmm. You can't put anything in there that isn't in there, but you can bring out a lot. It's amazing. Even lines that aren't known for feel. You know, I trained a dog a few years back that definitely wasn't bred to have any feel. But all the things I did with it brought out a crazy amount of feel.
Yep. Do you think it's bringing it out or man-made feel?
No, you can't man-make feel.
Yep.
No, it's got to be in there somewhere. But I think sometimes we don't, you know, as trainers, sometimes don't bring it out enough. Right. You know, and actually the start is, you know, where if you bury it and don't bring it out early, it's harder to get it.
Okay.
So, well, I think somebody back in I can't remember where I learned this, but basically, you know, the default is the things they learn first. So I'm very careful what I teach them first. So, for instance, I'll just give you an example. So when we're bringing cattle in and we're going to brand, one of my jobs is we're getting close, and you know, we have a big mob. We'll bring in 400 head or something. Mm-hmm. And we're getting them almost to the corral. It's a big pasture, and we've got everybody in. And about the time we're going to get close to getting in, by then the calves are wanting to go back. And you'll have 40, 50 calves want to run back. And, you know, the default to my dogs is bring everything to me. That's the first thing I teach them, right? And when I say get back to my dogs, that's get behind them, and that's the generic get back, is get behind everything and turn all the heads and bring them to me. So that's the first thing they learn. So I know that when they've gone over the hill, and I get back over the hill and we're going to go get those calves, those dogs are still with them, still working their butts off trying to get all the calves coming back. That's the default.
Yep.
And I don't have to be there. So, you know, I'm very careful what I teach them first. So first I do the cover, the think, the feel, and work the stock properly before I ever put on a stop or a left or a right. I think people think that the left and right is the main thing you want on them. But honestly, that's the easiest thing I've ever taught them is the stop, the left and right. You know, that's, for me, not that important.
Teach them how to handle their livestock is
Yep. And,
key.
You know, and the other thing is that balance bring stock to you doesn't necessarily always have to be on the gather side. I want it on both sides. So I like, you know, the cover and the balance on whether you're driving or you're fetching. So, yeah, it's just the first things I teach them.
And I want to get back into, in a second, go back into your driving because it's phenomenal. It's crazy. You can just forget your dogs and go work on a gate and they're just driving. They're still handling their livestock in the way you asked. But I want to skip back to a thing you just said a second ago and go into that a little bit. You said that if you don't bring it out in them young, sometimes it's hard to get it out or maybe not at all. And I've kind of experienced that. I've had dogs that look so good on their stock tests and early on when I was starting to do this and I thought I had to leave them alone or I didn't want to build repetition. So I put them away and get them out at a year old and they're not the same dog anymore. So does that explain that, I guess, in your experience? Is that a thing if you don't express it early on that you might lose it?
You know, everybody handles things differently, and over the years, what's fallen into place for me is that when I'm taking my pups to stock, I'm checking to see what they have. Just for instance, let me just example. I have one pup right now that he either wants to go in and kill one or quit. Okay.
Yeah.
So I put him up for a while, and the last time I took him out, I was getting him around, and he was thinking, I'm giving him a little more time, but I'm checking him regularly. I also have a pup that just wanted to get around and, you know, kind of wanted to come into the sheep and be pretty tough on them, but was easy to bend. And so she's real flexible in her head, young, and she's real keen. So I'm taking advantage of that early. I'm letting her learn how to work the stock young and give to me and bend off, and I'm letting her find what's right, you know, early, because I have the advantage while they're young to be, I don't know the right term for it, but basically they're more flexible in their head.
A little easier to manipulate.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And so that's how I get by the tougher dogs is I just start them earlier, and I don't want to use the word start them. So I'll go to the pen and I'll check on them and I'll tweak a few little things and get them thinking or bending from me, and the next time, I can kind of feel what they're up to then and build from there. But I do build on my dogs young. And so as I go, to answer your question more specifically, I don't ever lose that. So if I'm teaching them a thing, I'll go back and let them do some of that. Like I keep it in the mix.
Yeah.
So everything at the end of the day is a balance to me. The amount of gather, the amount of, listening to you, whether they'll stop and let go of the stock and, let you take control of them. But I also give it back to them. So I keep doing that to keep it flexible for them. 1 minute I'm giving it to them. The next minute I'm going to ask to take it from them. And I expect them, when I ask for something, to drop what they're doing and listen to me. But I also like to give it back to them just as much. And I keep a balance between them and me. And, I'm always, when I ask for something, I don't ask and then not get it. Like if I put the effort in to ask for it, I don't ask for it unless I plan on getting it.
Yeah.
So, and if they're not ready to do that, I don't ask for it.
Right.
I wait till and then I'll check it and see if they're ready for that. And that I don't ever ask without getting it.
And you kind of explained yesterday that that's how you dull them up. You're literally teaching them to not mind you. When you ask and you're not going to get it, you just taught them that they don't have to listen to that.
Yes.
What you asked.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I go in stages, with things. So I'll check and see what they're ready for, and I'll add in one thing at a time. So I don't like to keep the rules too strict and too hard for them to sort out. So I like to keep, I guess that's the easiest way for me to explain that is I like to keep things really simple for them. I think the most important thing when I train is have them be able to find right. So, for instance, if they are really harsh gripping, I'm going to take care of the harsh gripping. If it's just, cheap, if they're just, gripping when they shouldn't.
Unnecessary.
I never get on them for a correct grip ever. I don't. But I don't like them to learn to come in and be cheap. So if I'm doing that, I'm going to let other things slide until I get that.
Right.
So I get that, and I'm going to let a lot of things go until they understand that that's off the table. And then I'm going to add in some other things when I've got that cleaned up.
And that's all for their demeanor, right? You're letting some things go while you get this correction so that their demeanor stays where you want it.
Yes, because I always sort out what's going to be the most important at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing is I don't have anything if they don't quit being cheap. So I clean that up. Then I'm not worried about, the flanks too much because that's easy to fix for me. Cleaning up the flanks once they're not looking for the cheap grip is not super hard.
Well, honestly, the cheap grip makes them flank incorrectly.
Yes.
So if they let that go.
Yes, so I go in the order of importance. So I get rid of the cheap grip. Then they're more open-minded. Then of course, that's one rule. They can find that pretty easy. What I want them to do is find where I'm going to leave them alone and give them freedom. So I get that off first, and then I let them work the stock and understand, to be responsible for the stock without me managing it for them. And that's in the cheap grip. Then as they're getting to where I can trust them there, I'm setting them up to learn that if they're wrong, they're going to lose their stock and, different things I do. And in the meantime, I'm also teaching them to roll over and roll that shoulder over so that makes it easier for them to be right and control the stock. And they're learning that. And I want them to enjoy the work,
Yeah.
The one thing that I'll say for sure is that when I'm working one and I see them getting slower, I know they're done learning. When they're wanting to get slow, they're not learning anymore.
If you got a dog you're in the middle of a work and all of a sudden you see them just slow down, and do you change the way that work goes from there, or do you literally say, nope, we're done for the day, we'll come back when you're
I'll do something. I like to bait them with something fun. to bring them back before I quit if I can.
Get that demeanor back
yeah, I like to get them happy and thinking that that was still a fun place to be. So I'll try to find something that they enjoy, or that, a lot of times I like to work them on the fence and let them have some fun really working them, or something like that to bring them back mentally and into having a good time before I quit.
I'll tell you a fundamental mistake I know I was making a lot early on was I was putting a lot of pressure on a dog, and then their demeanor would go down and they weren't having fun. And so then I'm like, okay, walk up, push, and or sort of balance. But I know what I was doing was I was letting them be cheap and letting them do things incorrectly. And it ended up biting me in the butt real quick, because they would pout when I'm asking them to do it right, and then they were happy when they did it wrong, and that was a big hole I fell into. That. So if you explain, like, when you say you change the work around and you want to make it fun, that doesn't mean just all of a sudden you let that dog do what he wants to do.
I do something that he can do well, that he enjoys, if I can fix that up. Yeah.
Something he's enjoying but still does correctly.
Yep. And sometimes it does come down to, I just take them out and I joke and say it's sort of like putting ice cubes on their brain for a little bit, let them sit while I work another couple dogs, come in for a short session when their brain is fresh, and get something good and quit. I'm pretty good at reading the dog's demeanor.
Yeah.
And I'm really sensitive to that. And I've learned, over the years, that keeping their brain kind of fresh and happy is when they learn the most. And my dogs train up pretty quickly because I feel like they're looking for what I want. And I think it's because I make it simple for them to find it. Yeah. By not having too many rules. I don't like to nag at them. I like to just, if they're wrong, they only feel pressure from me if they're wrong. And as soon as they change, it's off. So that's how they find how to find right. I just want to set it up for them to find what I'm after and what's right.
So I'd like to go into just a little bit of detail about that. You told us a good little story yesterday about your grandpa whooping your butt. You know, explain that and how you use that on your dogs.
A lot of people that have been here know the story, and they probably are going, "Oh boy, here we go again." But when I was little with my grandfather, he was somebody that I look up to, and I'd spend some time with him in the summer. And one time I was down the road and I was hunting kois in the neighbor's koi pond with their labradoodle thing that they had when I was little, and I got home and I got, his thing to me was, well, you weren't supposed to be doing that, so you might as well put your pants down. And man, I'm telling you, when he spanked your ass, it hurt, man. He stung your ass. Yeah. But he's like, okay, we got stuff to do. We're going camping, and that was done. Like, you got an ass stinging, and it was done, and we moved on. And I didn't hold it against him. I knew I would. I just ended up never wanting to let him down. Yeah. He expected the most of me and wanted me to be but he never hung that horrible energy over me. No guilt, no screaming, no none of it. Anger. Yeah, no. You shouldn't have done that. It's gonna sting, and now we got stuff to do. Let's move on. And I really, and I know the other kind of corrections, the heavy kind of bad feeling, energy that goes with the hover over them, try to intimidate them, and all the things. And I feel like the dogs, when people correct that way, kind of want to get back at their handlers a bit. Yeah. I get by with with a sting and move on. Little, better than that, let's roll. Yeah. And that works really well for me. Yeah, that's one thing I was really impressed with yesterday was when they blew you off or said screw you, and you're like, oh, okay, well, now you're in a little bit of trouble. And you could see the dog go, oh, no, I'm in trouble. And it's like, you're still going to pull your pants down and get an ass whipping, you know what I mean? And then you're going to go back to work, we'll drop it, and it's fine. And there wasn't big motion. And the dog literally would wait for a little bit of a correction, and then, okay, now, all right, I know she's not mad at me. We're going to do some stuff now, But they also knew the correction was coming, too. They knew they made that mistake. It was so clearly
pointed out to
Well,
them.
so, the level of correction I give depends on the crime.
Yeah.
And there's, the cheap, nasty, hurt my sheep correction is much stronger than, a little other thing. But, I want them to totally be clear what they did and why they got it. And that's why I don't mix up a lot of I don't correct several things at once. Like if I'm working a dog, I'm not picking on a whole bunch of things at once. I might with my broke dog later, when they sort out all the things and they've done several offenses, they might get in trouble for a few different things. But I mean, by the time I have them broke, though, it's pretty rare. They're not looking to be, mine are usually looking to make me happy, you know.
That goes right in line with what you said a minute ago is I'm going to let some things slide so that I can get this worked out without completely ruining their demeanor,
I've really learned in this game that what keeps my dogs happy is I've learned how to give to gain. I'll give up something because I just keep staying with the level of importance.
Yeah.
I'll get one thing gone, so let's start with early on the tougher dogs that want a nasty grip.
Yep.
I get rid of that. Then I get them in the game of working because now I can trust them.
Yeah.
So I want to turn their thought into working the stock and being responsible for the stock. And then once I have that, then, I start getting them soft to me. I've taught them already how to move off of me properly so I can help them in their flanks. Because if I step in and want to pick their shoulder up or if I want to move them, they understand that. So I've already taught them to move from me. And they're not dull to me because I'm not nagging on them, and I really look to not build a brace.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that new people make is building a brace in the dogs. And so I just never build a brace. I never hold them. I think maybe you guys saw that yesterday.
Oh, absolutely. You can pick on me. I brought out 3 dogs that was just leaning on me, and I was leaning on them, and it became very apparent real quick, like, this isn't working. And you just step towards your dog, and they're like, oh, I know what that means, And I'm over there going, get. And they're just leaning right in, and I'm drawing them in.
Yeah, so mine, if I take a step, they just understand what that means. And they know that if they give and move off of me, that I'm going to, as soon as they're moving off of me, I'm going away from them.
Yeah.
And I'm not staring at them, and I'm just, and it, over the last, I would say the last 14 or 15 years, I've changed a lot. I mean, I've been handling dogs a really long time, but I just keep changing. I've grown, even in the last 2 years. I just keep making things easier for them and me. And that takes time.
Yeah. So what's people be thinking, well, I need to get my dog to do that when I take a step. What does that look like in building that?
You mean the give to you?
Yeah.
So one of the things that was interesting yesterday, so it's funny how it'll quickly offend me, is when a dog wants to come into me and go right through me. That's super odd feeling to me because my dogs, I'm not a warm, fuzzy feel for them to come into it in the early days. Later, when they're broke, it's not a big deal and they kind of learn the difference. But I basically, if I step forward, and I don't keep stepping if I want them to move, I'm just telling them to move by stepping into them and then asking. A lot of times you'll also see people mix that up and they teach the dog to move off of them, but they keep walking towards them while the dog's moving away from them. And then that's what you have to do every time. So what I want them to do, I basically want to send them off of me, and if that makes sense. I want to teach them to pick up and move away from me, by how much pressure I'm putting on them. And I like my dogs pretty light. And pretty quickly, if they understand that if they move off me, that I move back away from them, then they get quite light. I don't know if you saw that yesterday, but my dogs are very light to me.
Yep, for sure. So,
and that's not from me being hard on them. That's from them understanding what I'm asking of them.
So you would just walk towards them, and if they give, you release.
Well, that's kind of hard to explain, especially I think it's easier for me to demonstrate, but and I did that yesterday with yours, is a little, like a little bit of they've got to learn to move from there. So I do use a flag. Mm-hmm. And one of the things is, and I hope we could talk about that a little bit, is, overusing your flag or,
Yep.
Like I said yesterday, if I pick up my flag for something, it means something. I don't ever use it and not get a change from it. So I keep it down in pretty much a neutral position unless I'm going to get a change. So I do teach them, to move from the flag. And, these days, I barely pick my flag up. I probably keep my flag 6 inches off the ground most of the time. Mm-hmm. Unless I'm on the other side of the sheep and they can't see me or something. But so anyway, the basic gist of it is I teach them to move from, the pressure of my flag with one step. And then the flag isn't there anymore pretty quickly, and I don't need a flag. But I'm just trying to teach them what I want.
Yep. Because I'm sure there's people at home thinking like, well, how do you get that? And
that's a really hard one to explain, to get. You guys kind of got to look at it yesterday, but it is a little hard to explain that.
Yep. I liked the parts. So I had that knuckle-headed dog that's pretty excited, the little pup Goose, that wanted to come into you. And you're like, whoa, I can't believe he just was just coming on in. He's not even looking at me like he's worried. Mm-hmm. And you didn't have to hurt him.
No.
You put a lead on him, and my favorite part was you close the door on the right and you close the door on the left, and you had to pop him a little bit with that flag, and until he was like looking at you and was like, holy cow, you're something. And you're like, yeah, and I'm asking you something too. And it was actually very simple. The dog just a couple times you even just popped it under his chin, just tap him just for his attention, and he was like, pretty quick, you move that flag, and he was like, I know what you want.
It was a little bit of I think the best way to describe it, since you're leading into it, is a startle, a slight startle.
Yeah, like snap him out of his thought process.
Yeah, and then he would then want to kind of move away from that, which helped. So you just touched that. So if I take, a lot of times when I start those dogs doing that, they want to go to the left or to the right or get around the handler.
Yep.
And what I do is take that off the table. So it's not going around me when I step forward to the right or to the left. There's only one avenue open, and that's roll back off. So yeah, it's a real important tool. If I don't have that, really I can't do anything with my pups.
And I like going into detail with some of that stuff, because the people that are trying to figure this out on their own, and that's why this podcast I use as a cheat code or getting free information that you usually got to pay a lot of money for, but you literally just taking that leash, and when they'd go left, give them a little tug. Nope, we're not going that way. When they go right, nope, you're not escaping that way. I want you to go backwards. And it was so clear to the dog, and it just opened it up to where he was like, oh, 2 seconds later, you wiggle that flag at him, and he was like, I know exactly what that means. Let's go this way.
Well, I think that's because then I stepped off.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Yeah.
And so
as soon as they relieved, you relieved.
Yeah. And so what I want them to do is I want them to start learning how to get rid of me.
Yeah.
And that's the start of that. And so that's the same when I roll them over in a flank. As soon as they roll over, I'm always going away from them. So I don't know if that was something new for you guys to see yesterday, but, I'm always going away from my dogs.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare that I turn and walk towards them.
I think I've seen multiple handlers do it, but it wasn't something either I caught them telling me to do, or it's something they didn't think was important they needed to explain, you know what I mean? But you were like, man, I want them to learn how to get rid of me, so when they do the right thing, I'm getting out of their way.
Yes.
And it resonated with me. It was a little bit of an aha moment for me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh man, that's brilliant, because when they decide, this is how I get rid of her, now it's a fun thing to do, because it's a pleasure for them.
It is a pleasure to get rid of me.
Yeah.
They're like, I got rid of the crazy lady. She's going the other way. That's perfect.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's good.
I was going to just dive back into explain a little bit what overusing the flag looks like.
Yeah.
Just so that people while we're in that flag area.
Yeah. So you often will see people, like when the dog's going around, I call it, for me, I call it the death spiral. They're in that circle, and then they're hitting the flag on the ground or up in the air, and they're trying to get them to bend out, and the dog's running, and the flag is always positioned, at a place that won't change the dog. And the dog learns to just hurry past that to get around, because the guys just hung their pants down because they're stepped forward and they're trying to push the flag on the dog, and the dog's just quicker to the backside. And and then we're using more and more flag, which is dulling the dog more and more. And you never got anything. I call it, I never got anything for my money. If I pick my flag up, I want something for my money.
Yeah, well, and that's a big thing, is ask, and then the result needs to change.
Yeah. So later, once my dogs fully understand that if I pick my flag up, that means give them some space, because if I pick it up, it means move. So if they don't give it to me, I'm just basically going to go, pick up the line and stop where I'm at and, get them to move off me. But at the end of the day, it'll all kind of come together. Well, even if they're on the run and I ask them for it and step forward and pick my flag up a little bit, they're going to bend out.
Yep.
And that's what I want to happen eventually. But it's got to be really clear. And, I think that the truth is the communication for me over the last 5 or 6 years, probably 5 or 6 years, the communication with me and my dogs has gotten better and better.
Yeah.
And I think that's key. I've really thought that out is the communication.
Yeah.
And being consistent with what you ask, with what you expect them to do. And actually they like it that way.
Yep.
They just want to know what you want. And I don't want to over command everything. I want to actually make it so that they can be responsible for their part of the job.
Yep. Yep.
And that means you have to be really clear with what your expectation is of them.
Yep. Okay.
I think it's anything. It's whatever it is, as long as you're consistent with, if you ask, they give it, and you give to them when they do it.
Yep. And that makes sense too, because I have a bad taste for flags, I guess, because of how I'd used them or seen people use them is a little erratic, and the dog always excites.
Yes. So remember yesterday I did talk about I'm not trying to make the dog frantic. And I've had every level of dog. Like, it was funny when I was going to do the dog training online video and use the flag. I did not have a good demo dog for it. I had a dog that was very sensitive and very, all the things. He just was made that way. He was not a good dog to show flag, because he was, but with him, I just keep using it, but use it less and less and less. And in the video, it wasn't very good. He looked like he was scared to death of my flag, but that was just him. Mm-hmm. And before it was over, he was good with the flag because he got used to it. I don't put a flag away, for instance, if a dog is super weird and light and funky. I just use it light and just keep using it until they're, I don't make them frantic or overuse it. And I get my dogs super happy with it. A lot of people have come here and said, oh, no, you can't use a flag. Well, I do. And I get by it really well by just not overusing my flag.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to, like that dog that I did the demo with and on Dog Training Online, it was a terrible video. I've regretted that video, because I can do, what needed to happen is this dog actually, I got used to the flag and got really nice with it, and I just used less, and he got really, really nice. But in that, it looked like he was petrified of it, which he was. But that's just who he is. So people come and they say, well, oh, you can't use a flag. And I'm thinking, well, it's just how the flag's been used, right? And so I just use less, and I actually love that. I love when a dog's light. Yep. I don't need to use much. It's like, I suppose it's like getting on somebody's horse that's like ultra light, and some people can't ride those, actually. And to be honest, some of my dogs are that way.
They need, yep.
You better be, you don't over ask them.
Yeah. Yep. Which is
very light.
Which is good to explain how they overuse, underuse a flag, because that's the kind of the
yeah. I'll up the level. It's like anything. I'll up the level of flag to get what I need, but the ultimate goal for me is to just use the smallest amount to get what I want. Yeah, and that seems to keep the dogs pretty happy. You know, like they're not worried about the flag, and they understand what it means, and so yeah, the lighter I get them, the happier they are, and I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a question that I want to go into with that dog and just the way he was, and scared of the flag at the beginning. So anyways, that dog, you said he was scared of the flag, and that's just him. You run into dogs that have just natural, they mistrust this, or they're scared of that, or they are avoiding, is what I call it. They avoid your pressure. or they avoid the hard thing you're asking them to do, and things like that. There's several ways that a dog avoids. And if you want to touch base a little bit on different ways dogs avoid and what you do to work through it.
You know, like, I think maybe I'm going to say that particular dog was real insecure in himself. And he was just made that way. Yeah. It wasn't anybody, you know, he was raised like all my other dogs. He was raised, you know, very different from the others.
Yeah.
And he basically, what I needed to do with him, and I did end up doing, of course, didn't go in the video, but I actually built him slowly to take pressure and not be worried about it. So sometimes that's my goal in a lot of things, is to build their confidence in what I'm asking of them, which usually gets them pretty comfortable. The insecure dogs can be really tricky.
Yeah.
And what I try to do with them is teach them to take pressure. And that, when I teach a dog, when I say I'm going to teach a dog to take pressure, that's over a 30-day thing of slowly, you know, building on that. One of the things that I really love to listen to the Good Horse podcasts. They're my favorite. Dick Pieper did a great one, and he talked about the 1%. I don't know if you've ever heard about the 1%,
Mm-hmm.
but like, I'm not really a big fan of 1%. I really want at least 3. You know, I'm kidding.
No.
Actually, I love 20, but no. But with him, you know, I just kept working him and just did less, and he got less and less and less worried, and, you know, and insecure. And basically what I was doing was building, you know, his trust and his confidence in me, and what that flag was, and he got pretty good about it.
So I know that most young trainers, or most novice, I shouldn't say novice, just ranchers, everybody, when a dog shows insecurities and says, "Oh, I'm scared of a flag, don't use that on me," their natural instinct is, well, this dog doesn't like flags. We're going to use something else, or we're going to stop trying that because he doesn't like it.
Yeah, no, see, I'm the opposite. I just keep going. I'm very aware of how it's affecting him. And I like to work a dog through things that they're uncomfortable with, you know, and at the end they're feeling like, you know, sort of a champion because they got through it, and it didn't kill them. I always figure if you can get through those kind of works and let them see that they're not going to die.
Yeah.
And that basically I'm asking for very fair things.
Yeah.
And it's easy for him. And, you know, that dog never loved a flag, but I didn't ever have to use much flag, but he got super trusting in me and how I used it. And I think that's anything. And you can take the level of flag from like that dog to the hard one. And at the end of the day, you might not have known the difference in the dogs that I've had, from the guy that was super light and sensitive to the one that was super hard. And
same goal at the end of the day. You're trying
yeah, a lot of people, when they watch my dogs, they probably couldn't tell some of the things that I've built or, you know, or lessened in them, you know, got them softer at. At the end of the day, I want people to not know what was what in them, that they all kind of, and I think as a rule, my dogs are a little bit cookie cutter. You know, they pretty much are I mean, they're the same, but different.
Yeah. Yeah. I was videoed my dogs one day, and I had 2 little red females, and one was extremely tight on her come by and extremely loose on her away. And I was always having to play with her and get off your livestock one direction and, hey, get in here. Yes. You're way out there, you know, and I was always playing with her. And the other dog was really good and round. I never had to worry about that, but she always wanted to stop and eye up on everything that even glanced at her. And 2.5 years later, I made a little video and I flank them, and they were literally side by side, running, stopping in the same motion. And it made me realize that's what I'm envisioning I want them to do. And I've been working on it for 2.5 years. And now I've got 2 polar opposite dogs that are literally moving the exact same, you know. And
that's exactly. Yeah.
Same thing. You say you take a dog that's ignoring the flag and takes a lot of flag to get his attention. You work your way to minute flag movement, get something out of that dog.
Yeah.
And then the dog that wants to run and hide from a flag, you build him up so that you can use a little flag to get what you want out of that dog.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's really neat.
Yeah. So I know that you're well known for like long outruns and like it's Soldier and Meeker, and I haven't seen gone there and watched those, but I have seen videos of these guys sending their dogs 600-700 yards, and it's like holy heck. And can you dive into like how that?
I was hoping I was going to get to take you for that trip today. I'm sad you guys got to leave. I was going to go fill you in on all that.
Yeah.
But that's part of the fun of being here. I hope you guys come back and we do that. But
absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things about distance work is I build it from the beginning. I can help them with it. I teach them to want to trust me, that I'm going to always help them. And I also want them, the distance work is very important that they want to hear you. And that's partly how I've kind of come to the method that I use now, is that, you know, they're not afraid to hear me, and I don't overcommand them. So I don't make them dull, and they think of me as somebody that's going to help them. Right? So they want to hear me, and they want to do the job. And early on, you know, I go over a lot of things that basically that I do smaller, exactly what I'm doing. I think you saw that last night when I gathered sheep last night. But the things that I teach them in the smaller area are exactly what I want them to do at distance. And basically the outrun is not taught by sending them a long way. A guy that helped me a lot early on, his name was Bobby Henderson, and he's from Scotland, and he was an amazing hand. And he came along in my life right when I kind of needed some different things. And he talked about how the outrun was not built with the distance. The outrun's built the top 25% of the outrun, which is what I was doing yesterday in the arena with that young bitch that I'm just starting the outrun with. That is the top 25% of the outrun in that arena, right?
Yeah.
And it started actually in the round pen, kind of how I started. But so when I build the outrun, it's not the distance that gets you. It's how they handle the top of the outrun. So where I was when I was working on that young bitch yesterday was to make sure that the top of the outrun was right. And what I mean by that is I was getting her to stop and think about it, how she came onto the stalk and how she picked them up and how they come up. So I'll do 400 of those. I'm kidding, but not, you know.
Yeah.
I'll do it over and over to where she knows that when she goes out, she comes in deep, she thinks about where they are, turns all the heads to me, and then comes on with them. And so basically when I have them really good at that, you know, I start slowly stretching them and see how they're going to be. And I know they want to hear me because I've already worked on that, and they're in the habit of that. And so they've already picked up, you know, the sheep a million times before I've ever gotten to that. So it's like not some new thing. They've already done it.
They're just running. Oh, man. I've got to stop talking with my hands.
Oh, that's okay.
They're basically just running a little farther each time. You stretch them out. It's the same thing. That's a little bit farther till I get there.
Yeah.
But
But they already know. The biggest thing, what I'm trying to say is they know how to handle the top of the outrun,
right.
which is where we're not.
Yeah.
So what I want to know before I'm sending them is how they're going to be up there, and I want to be sure that that's good. So I'm setting that myself up with that over and over before I ever get in the field. And then each dog's different. Some of them I'll check them for fun because they've been so easy and so good. I'll see what they do, and I'll send them a couple 100 yards just from my feet and see, which I don't really do. I usually go partway up.
Yeah.
And that way I'm up there to make sure the top is right, because I don't want ever to get in the habit of them not picking up the sheep right or the cattle right or whatever it is. And so, you know, that's how I build it. It basically starts with my early foundation. I set them up for it with my early works. Then I go to the next. I think you guys might have kind of seen that. It went pretty much the same as the smaller area. And then when I went to the bigger area, she already knew what I was going to ask her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. You went out of your small pen, and I was like, why would she make a mistake? She was doing it in her brain perfectly here. She just had to run 100 more feet and then do the same thing again.
And if you remember, I was up where I would have been, in the smaller pen, but then as soon as she landed it and she was right, I was, stepping back off.
Yep.
And so I just build the distance work close. And I think a lot of people make a mistake by trying to teach them the outrun without teaching it small. Like I say, the outrun is the 25%, the top part of the outrun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I build that, and that was really the best thing one of the best things I've learned over the years. Without that, I'd be a struggle.
So I run into dogs, and I know it's because I'm jumping steps or stages, but some dogs can just look out there and see the sheep, and some dogs are only looking 50 feet away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, some dogs are way too focused on their handler.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for the most part, I have good luck with dogs looking for sheep because I've not been holding them, and I don't have them focused on me.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem when people have dogs that don't want to look, they're a little bit too focused on their person.
I just told on myself, didn't I? Because I'm telling you right now, like you say that, and I'm like sitting there picturing my dogs walking out there, and they're going, me, whatever, we're walking, me, where they're walking.
If you have a real brace with them, they actually are thinking about working you more than they are the stock.
Yeah.
Because what we've done is train them to brace on you, and if you're not there to brace them, they're looking for you.
Yeah.
They're looking and they're wondering where they're thinking in onto you versus.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Open out to run to the stock.
Yeah. So you don't run into a lot of that trouble of having dogs that aren't looking.
Not a lot
out there.
I've had different levels of what I'll accept of that. If you have a bad spotter, every now and then there's just a freakishly bad spotter, and I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could be that they don't actually see that well. It's hard to say because I get so few of them. I've had a handful in the last 20 years.
Would you say, are there some dogs that you have to stretch them out in more baby steps than others?
Yes.
Some dogs will naturally,
for sure.
Like I got this, I can go do it. And
so my dogs are pretty much, this is a thing I've learned too, is that my dogs are looking for the sheep all the time. Like when they come into the arena, they're looking for them. Pretty soon they know when I take them to the field, they're looking for them. And they learn to spot because they're not focused on me.
Yeah.
And wanting to brace with me, and they've already been responsible for their, The one thing we talked about yesterday was, people when they come for help here, they're trying to bring their dog around them, to widen them out. And, I don't think some people really understand what a detriment that is. Getting the dog, like if they go around you to widen out, as soon as they're past your pressure, they're going to fall in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually train very differently than that. I never give them anybody to brace on, and I never give them anybody to fight with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't fight with them.
Yeah. I noticed when you set up your outrun for that young bitch, the sheep were out in the arena, and you actually got up against the fence away from where the dog was going to be. You made yourself farther away. Yes. Instead of being out there for the dog to arc around and then try to shove them back behind there was no shoving. There was no asking. If she makes a mistake, I'll go correct it. But she's not going to lean on me. She's got to do it herself. And
so the first foundation stuff that I do, you did warn me about that. So I think the best explanation I have, and I didn't understand this for quite a while, maybe 20 years ago I figured this out, but basically the natural pull out of the Border Collie is opposite than most people's, so I think people think that if they push the dogs out and put pressure on them and hold pressure on them, that they're going to learn to run out, but that's not what happens. Actually, what you need to do is when the person steps away, it actually is the natural pull the dog out is like this. When we brace like this, we build that brace where they always want in. And people that do the outrun, if they're here and they're going to bring the dog around, they're going to come around the person, and the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to fall in. So basically, I'm always going away from them. And then if they go wrong and they start to come in, then, of course, I'm going to stop them and then I'm going to step forward, which means open. And then as soon as they open, then I'm going to pull this way, which opens them.
Yep.
And that's how I teach the redirect and the bend out.
Yep. And then
Yes.
I learned that yesterday very clearly with my dogs, that you starting that from the time they were puppies and young.
Yeah.
I step towards you, give, and then you can start communicating from a long distance away that they know what you're talking about, just body language.
Mm-hmm.
Where mine, I got them leaning on me, and so I'm just like following them in a circle, holding, just like you said.
So there's just several things that can happen, the different people that come. So there's the dogs that are out of contact, and then there's the dogs that are leaning on the person, and, basically trying to find something that works for you where you can have that in-between thing where your dog actually is. I like my dogs to have a hold of the stock, meaning I don't like them out of contact, but I want them clean on their flanks.
Yep.
So I don't want to chase my dogs out. I actually just look for the first move to be correct. So, I just want one come across with the shoulder, and basically then they're on the right path.
Yeah.
And then I want them to find it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something yesterday I thought was worth mentioning is the difference between offensive and defensive dogs and how you go about that. Mm-hmm. It's something for people to look at home, what type of dog they have, and understand that, which will help everything in the future, I believe.
Sure. One of the things that was interesting is that little dog you had yesterday. He's a definite defense dog, but I've had really good luck with defense dogs that I've trained to walk when I ask them. So you can, it's funny, we will go long distance or big distances to make a dog stop properly. But when a dog is not coming forward, we keep asking for something we're not getting. And yesterday, it was, I basically wanted to show you that you can teach the dog to come forward. Mm-hmm. The dog's not afraid of the stock. He's just a defense dog. And when we talk about offense, defense, the defense dog just doesn't want a mess. They want everything just right. And I love that. As long as when I ask them, then they're happy to come forward. And a lot of times they don't learn that because it's hard to help them find that. What you're asking there.
Because it's against the grain of
against the grain.
What they want, they do.
It is. But I'm really happy with a defense dog that comes forward when I ask. So I just train them to do it. And, most of the time, my dogs, if I said jump off Niagara Falls, they'd be like, okay, hold my sign, and they'd probably do it. She says it must be fine, because they trust me. Mm-hmm. So, if you don't get your dogs in really bad jams where they don't trust you, they'll pretty much do anything you want if they understand what it is.
Yep. And that's the defensive guy wants to stay off.
Yeah.
And control everything,
Mm-hmm.
and the offensive guy, he's coming in.
So yesterday, I worked my young dog JJ for you guys, and he is definitely an offense dog. And I've taught him to roll over his shoulders and open up, and I've been really working hard at having him understand why. And that's what I was having him do with cover yesterday. Mm-hmm. Like, when you blow it, you're going to lose your sheep. And I need him to figure it out. I can't push him out there because the kind of stuff that I do, I want to turn my back and count on him to have it. I can't be managing it for him.
Yeah.
He's no good to me if I have to manage it.
Yep.
Right? So I work pretty hard to get them to figure that stuff out. And I also love an offense dog if I can get them to be clean enough and understand and find. He has feel, so I'm trying to bring that out in him so that he understands that the cover, like offense dogs do not like to roll back and over in a flank.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, it's been a little man-made. Yeah. They're just thinking
45 degree right towards them.
Well, they're thinking 40. They're thinking roll forward, which I love that. So in the 35 or 6 years that I've been schooling dogs, I've probably only had a handful of dogs that did equally forward to, as they are as a defense, offense combo. Like, they're so rare.
Yeah.
You usually either have an offense or a defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't use that terminology, but I say it all the time. Like, my brick dog was, he's the only one I've ever seen yet, and I don't have a huge amount of experience, but he loved to cover, and he had to keep had to keep stuff under control and in a group, but you just open the doors, you just crack the door and he's walking in. He's like, oh, thank you, you know, and just coming straight in and had a very powerful walk in, you know. And yeah, I'm finding out real quick, like as nice a dogs as I've got now that I like, they're not equal in both areas. And I'm just like, oh, what the heck? You know?
And so for me, what I try to do is I'm always trying to build where they're weak.
Yeah.
So with JJ, it's get that nice cover, and I was working on that a lot yesterday.
Yep.
And like with Chalk, he's a defense dog. I like to keep him walking on straight, and a lot of people don't understand pace either.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to just tell them myself, I didn't for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to one of the guys that helped me early. We were I put on a clinic, and he was doing it, and he has a real strong Scottish accent, and a lot of times I would interpret for him a little bit, but there was somebody at the clinic that asked him, what is the single most important thing that you put on a dog? And, you know, I remember being set back when he said pace. And at that time, I thought pace meant just go slow.
Yeah.
Pace is not just go slow. Pace is stay on the edge of that bubble or on the edge of, you know, where they affect the stock, and be in the right place to go faster or to go slower or to slow the stock down or speed the stock up. Or like if your stock are running down the field in a sheepdog trial, your dog has to stay up with them without pushing them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And that's pace, if you believe it or not.
Don't bump them, but be in position to affect them when you need to be.
Yeah, because otherwise they'll run off the end of the field, and you know, you got to have your dog up there where you can do something. So pace is a lot of things.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is I work a lot on pace, and that doesn't mean I'm going around snail, you know, like a snail. Sometimes I do. I'll get them, you know, really walking, flat foot walk. And the next minute I'll jump them into a trot, and I'll go on a long ways at a trot, or I'll go, you know, I just really change things up on pace. Pace is a really big deal.
And it's hard. It's not an easy task.
Because, so the other thing is, I'll go on with that, is I like to run my dogs just right on the edge and in contact, and I want them, they have the job. I mean, I think you guys saw that. Like, I give my dogs the job.
Yeah.
So they need to figure out where that place is.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I do early, is really try to get them to find where that spot is. And I think people miss that. Yeah. And I don't think they really, when they're early on, I don't think they really realize what that is. Because you see a lot of stop drift, you know, at trials.
Absolutely.
And that's the people that don't really understand.
Well, that's what I told you yesterday. I'll tell myself right now, like when I'm in the gather, I can forget my dog. I don't have to talk to her. They've got pretty good pace, and they're covering. They're not going to lose it. They're not shoving them over me. I can forget about them. And when you can forget about them, they should most likely doing it right. In the drive, I better not take my eye off of them. You know what I mean? And it's because I haven't used the same values on this side of the livestock as that side of the livestock. Like yesterday, you just literally get out of the buggy and turn your back to him and go shut the gate. And Chalk literally drove 40 head of sheep 150 yards away, and he's over there going, he'd look over his shoulder every once in a while wondering if you're keeping up with him, but he knows the job. He knows where he's headed. He knows, I'm just going to keep going this way, and I'm going to take them at the rate that they're going. I'm not shoving. I'm not falling off. I'm not wondering where you're at. I'm not worried. You know, he is the same as if he was on balance, you know?
Yeah. So balance is balance is on both sides.
Yeah.
It's out actually on the cross too.
Yep.
And it took me a while. So now I've got my dogs to understand when they're in a gather and when they're in a drive. And that's basically like when you're in a gather, you know, when I change it to a drive, they know when it's sort of like putting the car in drive. Now you're in drive, you know, you're off the gather. Or now while they're driving, then I'll put them in a gather. But they're not to go into a gather unless I put them in the gather. And they just really, separating those two things was a game changer for my dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And separating it, how did you clearly define your dog? These two are two different things.
Well, so I use a get back on my dogs, and that's kind of morphed into, I got to clear my throat. I'm sorry about that. So that's morphed into kind of a big thing for me. My get back command has turned all the heads to me. So when they're young, I tell them get back. I'll put the flank with it, but they understand that that's a gather. One thing that I've noticed a lot is that when people come, sometimes their dogs don't seem to really understand. They're kind of floundering, like they're not sure if they're gathering or driving. They're sort of in this kind of weird gray space that looks kind of funny. And I've seen some beginners with that, and even people that, don't. And I know I was there. I mean, I definitely struggled with that. And it eventually just became that just be clear. So I started helping my young dogs find the gather by, I use a command I say get back. And I learned that at one of the early clinics I was at in the early days from actually Gary Erickson. But I morphed it into what I wanted it to be. And that is, when I use that, I just want them to get behind the stalk, and I want to keep heads towards me. So when I start my gather, I've done that since they were young. So they know get back means turn heads to me. They're knowing that before I start the bigger gathers, right?
Yep.
So what I do is I'll put, I'll say away to me, and then I'll say get back at the end of it. That's just letting them know that that's what we're going to do, and I'm, putting the direction in it. But so when they get really good at that, then when I come and I turn that gather, when I'm ready to turn that gather into a drive, when I set them, it's like setting the car in drive. I will stop them, and when I say walk forward, that's a new line. We're going to take that line now, and now we're into drive.
And that doesn't matter if they're coming to you, sideways, away from you. You don't have to drive straight away from you. You can drive straight to you, but you said kick it in gear. Now move forward, move them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now once I put them in that spot, they're to take them, until I change it. So it doesn't matter whether they're driving away from me or or turn it into a cross drive. What I'll do is I'll reset it into a new line. So, for instance, if they're driving away to the first drive gates, and then they get to the drive gates, and I make the turn, and I give them a stop, and then I give them a walk. Once I give them the walk forward, that's putting the car in drive.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, and it's the same on the back side. When they're coming down the fetch, like at a sheepdog trial and it's big distance, my favorite way to handle that is I like to end up with more checking them to keep the pace, and I'll give a check whistle to steady them up, but I try to not give a bunch of direction flanks. I want them to fix that on their own, because if you get into a big thing of flank, then a lot of times they're going to go too far, and then you have to get into the damage control of fix it then on the other side. So once the dogs understand heads come to me on a fetch, I just give very small flanks on the fetch if I can. So what I mean by that is, and I really start that pretty young too, my flanks have a half a flank, which means you're not going very far. I don't want you going to the head. Actually, that means I don't want you going past the hip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even on the fetch, if I give a half a whistle, I know they're not going to come up too far to the eye. You know what I mean? And catch the eye on the fetch.
Yeah.
If I need to give a whistle. And it's pretty rare that you want them coming up to the eye on a fetch. But
Really?
yeah. So when I put them in drive, it's the same. So if I use a small flank, they know they're not going very far. So I'm very consistent with that. When they're in a drive, I'm giving small flanks, half flanks. And they know they're not going to go all the way around unless I give a full long flank.
Yeah.
So when I'm setting them up to learn to drive, if I'm giving half flanks, they know they're not going to the head. So they already know ahead of time kind of what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And so they really quickly learn that, I'm on a drive and I'm getting these flanks and this is what we're doing. And it just gets very clear to them, the picture. So I just in the early days, I really separate the two things. I don't leave them floundering with. So a lot of times when people are training, and they're doing a come by, well, one come by fits all, that gets really hard for the dog to sort out. They don't, and then you don't separate the two things. Sometimes they're just not sure if they're fetching or driving.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's one thing that I feel like I got a grasp of early on was I would say, just come if I knew I was going to shut them down.
Sure.
And the dog really quickly picked up. You could see it in their flank when you just say, come. And the softer you say it, even the shorter the flank's going to be, or, you know, but they pick up that short command as a short flank. They're ready for that there or stand.
They know that they're not going far.
But you're building that way sooner and way clearer. And like you said, you release them with that get back. And once again, it's the clear communication to the dog. They learn easier.
Yeah, so it's all about them understanding what you want.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like to make things too complicated. You know, kind of not so much exactly, but one rule at a time and then I build more pieces. I add pieces as they have a clear understanding. Yeah.
But as far as that, them going into drive mode and staying in it, is that just a lot of practicing? I think you told me yesterday, there's sometimes you drive for a really long ways and you try not to talk to them while they're doing it.
I really do. I hit a fence line. I'm very blessed at the situation here. I mean, this is a big place and there's lots of opportunities, and I'll hit a fence line and I'll just go for a mile, in a drive.
Yeah.
And then I'll turn it into a gather. And I really like to keep a balance. So you'll see that. If you've been driving too much, your gather you'll lose some of your gather, Yeah. If you're gathering too much, then, you'll lose some of your drive.
Yep.
But I'm always working to keep it a balance. But what's helped the most is letting them know the difference between what I'm doing very clearly. When I gather and then I turn something into a drive, and then I let them know when I've turned it back into a gather, and that communication has really, really helped my dogs, learn quickly.
Well, and one thing I wanted to ask you, sorry, Travis, you said that you do a half whistle just the same as your full whistle, and also when you talk about that, at what point do you start putting whistles on a young dog?
As soon as they're not missing any of my verbals. The little female I had yesterday, she doesn't miss very many. She's getting close to getting on whistles, but I'm not really hurrying. She's only little over 9 months old, but she's one of those that would take it. But I'm going to stall and mess around with more foundation stuff, and probably a month from now I'll start putting whistles on. She's one of those that's going to pick it up in a second, but I think I'll just go with her over more foundation. I'm on inside flanks right now. I didn't use it when I was driving. I don't know if yesterday you noticed that with her when I was driving. She was ready to drive, but she's not ready to inside flank on the drive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
So I'm going to clean those up better, in the smaller area, and get her really correct on those and really comfortable before I start. I was setting myself up to help her.
Yeah.
Yesterday in the center of the triangle, that's kind of hard to explain on here, and she wasn't ready to come in between me and the stock.
Yep.
So if I do introduce drive to one, I don't, start using, and I reposition. I stop them and I reposition me.
Yeah.
Versus ever inside flanking before I'm sure she'll be clean. So that's another mistake that happens. People start driving before their flanks are solidly clean. So if you put a dog in a drive out in front of you and they're not in the habit of having clean flanks, they're going to make, V flanks as they're driving.
Yep.
And I want it very solid with them to just roll that first move over. It doesn't matter where they are. So I'm going to wait a little while and I'll clean that up before, I'll be working on that before I even put whistles on, probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you decide to put the whistles on, what does it look like? Do you just say the command and follow it with a whistle, or do you whistle and follow it with the command?
Everybody has a different way of doing that.
Yeah.
For me, I go kind of work on things in a smaller area, and basically I just put them on like I did my voice.
You just start with body language and put the whistle on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just start whistling, and I'll say it if I need to. I'll say the verbal,
To help.
But I do a lot of just by where I am. She already knows the direction, and I put the whistle on. And my dogs learn whistles pretty quickly. But, everybody has something that works for them.
Yeah.
And that's how I like to put them on.
Yeah.
So, and, also my dogs, I'm very careful about, so if the sheep are fragile and they're light or whatever, I put very soft whistles on. I use a soft when I'm blowing. And that's telling them, I'm giving them a heads up. Look, they're light. You need, and I'm actually telling them what's happening by how I also tell them if I put more energy in it, I need them to hurry. They can tell exactly, man, I better pack the mail. You can tell by her tone, this is serious. Like they're
which is what we do with our voice on purpose or on accident. It doesn't matter if it's
exactly.
Like, hurry, we automatically get animated.
So they know the difference. So if I'm blowing soft and relaxed, they're to be soft and relaxed. If I put some urgency in it, I want some urgency. It's sort of like riding. It's the energy you put in it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very consistent with that, and I haven't always been. I've struggled with putting crazy emotions in my commands. I think all of us have, but I'm getting old, so I'm just, maybe I'm too, I don't know. As we get older, the effort of, I just relax and go, oh, I don't know what the drama was in my head anyway, so I don't really think about that. But
I literally got taught, you need to put whistles on your dog to take the emotion out of it. But then the longer I'm in this, I learned the pros are putting emotion in their whistles and still communicating with it.
For sure. It's a full-on thing. Yeah. What it is just learning how to control your emotions.
Yeah, might as well just learn to control your emotions because there's no getting around it.
Emotional guy.
Yeah, yeah.
I did a Chance's emotional guy.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So I found out a lie. And so everyone at the dog trials are saying I'm using Joni Tietjen whistles. And I now know that it's not your whistles, it's your husband's.
Yeah, that's exactly. So I blew a certain type of whistle for a lot of years, a guy named Ray Coatman, and actually, sadly, he's passed away recently. It was really hard to hear. He was a great guy, and he ran dogs well, and he built an amazing whistle. He hand cut them. I didn't realize back when we were buying them 25 years ago that he hand cut every whistle, and I don't know how long it must have took him to do a whistle, and really did a good job on him. Anyway, so he didn't let anybody know that he was going to retire, and so we couldn't stock up on whistles. And after he quit making them, I tried every kind of whistle. I tried them all. Spent a lot of money. I finally said to my husband, I said, what if we contact Ray and see if we can't pay him to train you to be able to build his whistle. So my husband obviously was not going to hand cut them out. So we do use a CNC. He has a machine for that. But he does, the thing about Ray's whistles were the way they fit in your mouth. And there's a lot of sanding that goes on even with the cutout after it's cut out. So he did get it to where they're cut out, but he hand sands them so that they fit in your mouth right, and he can change them by how much air volume goes by how he sands that inside, and he can tweak them to fit anybody. But they're a very good distance whistle. I'm just so excited to be able to blow them. I can't believe that he makes them, but yeah, they're super cool.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, there's probably better whistles for a softer close-up whistle. I've learned to do a good job with them close up, but they're not easy. They're actually made to put a little more air through. I don't mean volume as in loudness, but I mean volume as an amount of air. They're made to take more, volume of air, which helps it carry. So I really love them at distance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty great living with a whistle maker.
How do you get one?
Well, you just gotta. I'm actually, believe it or not, finally getting with the times, and I'm making a website, and I'm probably gonna make it to where there's a cart on there that you can buy a whistle.
Yep.
And I'm just bad, so people are probably like, "Well, I'm not gonna buy a whistle from her because I wrote her, and she never got back to me." But now, don't you guys think it's crazy that you have messages in Messenger, you have messages on WhatsApp, you have messages in the text, you have
Yeah. And then my kids are doing Snapchat and everything else and different apps that you don't even know how many there is.
I can't keep track of what I've done and what I've read and who I've wrote. But
that's crazy.
I think I'll have all the whistles go to the website and I'll check there. So I think I'll make it simple for people, and then I mail whistles. So
perfect.
yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, Joni, because I'm always on top of all my replies.
You are?
Yeah, everyone that emails will text.
We never miss an email around here.
Not even once. It's
I'm joking, with you back, but I'm going to tell you, I feel very guilty even just talking about it. Like the amount of people that have written me that haven't gotten a reply. It's not, and often my probably the most common thing that happens to me is that I answer them in my head and I'm doing the thing and I'm going to come back to it and then it's gone. Yeah. I'm terrible. So
mine's I just don't check.
Oh, yeah. Right. Well,
that helps.
So my friend Kate Luce is just an amazing talent, and I've conned her into doing a website for me, and I'm pretty excited about it. It shows some kind of fun stuff on there, some distance work with the dogs and some ranch work and some gathering and some fun pictures, and we're starting a thing about talking about past dogs, and some training videos will go up now and then. So it's going to be fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's the website called?
/jstockdogs.com.
Good.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
cool.
Anybody?
Yeah. Well, now we've talked about the whistles. Let's hear them.
Well, am I going to blow everybody's heads off?
Try it. If it's bad, I'll just down the volume and bring it back when it's done whistling.
Well, and everybody, Haley Honeywell is probably the best whistler I've ever heard. And she has, she runs multiple dogs. I'm terrible at it. I can do it. But I really hate to do two sets of whistles, and I'll tell you why. And it's just me. I have a pretty simple brain. And if I'm at a dog trial and I need a whistle to come to my head like that, I don't like to even think.
Yeah.
So, one of the tricks is finding a set of whistles that suit you. And I blow this set of whistles, but there's lots of different sets. And boy, it's tricky to get two sets of whistles that that the dogs don't take each other's whistles and fit you and all the things. But there's some people that a person can go to have them help find sets of whistles that suit them. But my set of whistles I've blown for my main set, I've blown for a lot of years, and I like them because for one thing, I like one tone for one side, and I like a double on the other. That way, if it's like crazy windy, if they aren't hearing very well, they can sort out that was a 1, that was a 2.
Yeah.
Trying to help them, because honestly, everything for me kind of goes to distance.
That's funny because I couldn't find anywhere to get like a specific set of whistles, because I just wanted to be told, blow this for an away, blow that for a come by, and that way I could just start working on it instead of making up my own and going, is that going to be clear enough at a long distance and this and that. And my first set of whistles, I actually had a 1 tone for left and 2 tone for right. Mm-hmm. And Brick and Sage and Reba all knew those. And but at a long distance, my 2-tone whistle was a little bit similar to my lie down. And a lot of times I was trying to get them to flank and they would down out there. And so I turned around and changed it to a 1 tone on both sides. But I find that my dogs are getting confused when I try to do the 1 tone, and when they get to a point like on a windy day, or the cows are all bawling and stuff like that. So that makes sense. The 2 tone and 1 tone, it helps them decipher when they're having a hard time hearing.
Yeah, and my 1 tone, I'll try to blow away from it. I'll turn this over here.
Yeah.
So my 1 is kind of an over the hill. So, and that's an easy one for me to shorten. If I want it short, I just blow it.
Okay.
If I want it long, I drag it out.
Okay, so now tell me, what are the 2 different things you're asking there?
So 1 is my half a flank. I'm not going very far.
Gotcha.
And I also don't put any energy. I rarely put any energy in a half a flank.
So you're saying come by or come short.
Yep. And on the other side, I have a double, and I like it a little higher. That's a low tone. On the other side, I like the double. And I make it a little higher.
Yep.
That's all the way. So when I'll cut that in half, when I'm driving or even when I want to make sure they don't overflank on the fetch. It's the full is. So the other thing is if I'm in a hurry and I need them to, and I'm like panicked, I throw all of it at them, and I'm like, like, let's go. We really gotta go.
Yeah.
And it's the same on the other side. Like they're like,
Get
oh
going,
man, she's panicked.
Yeah, she's panicked.
She's panicked. They gotta go.
Yeah.
So it's everything is the energy you put in it.
Yeah.
And so if I'm doubling it, that means, dude, we gotta go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So think about that, because you don't know what they're whistling when they're whistling out there. Different handlers,
Mm-hmm.
And so honestly, sometimes I thought you were just repeating it to keep them going, but you're actually going hustle up. You're putting energy into it.
You just brought up a thing that I really want to talk about.
Yeah. Telling on myself again.
No, it's not. No, this is a different thing, and if this is something people really need to hear.
Yeah.
And some people don't, obviously, but so a lot of times people just repeat the whistle. And the more you repeat a whistle, it's like pedaling a bike, right? So people pretty soon they're given a full whistle and they're doing it over and over again, and the dog is only going as far as the whistle goes, and when they stop whistling, the motion dies.
Yep.
So I'm very careful about that. So I have 2 whistles. If I give a full one, I want you going the full way, that freely. And if I give a half, I want you to go. But I'm not pedaling my dogs, and I never start that. But I see a lot of it.
Well, I told you yesterday, like, I hate it and I don't like it, but I've got one dog that's doing it and I'm fighting it. Mm-hmm. And what you're like, well, he doesn't know I'm away, and he goes so far. And with Brianna, she said, like, he's choosing his own line because he's looking for that in to stop on me. But I think I've created that because I'm not clear with him on, I want you all the way out, or this is going to be a short one.
He really doesn't know where he's going, and he prefers to do that, so he's going to look for the one he prefers.
So on your whistle, do you have the get back or get out?
No.
Or is it just your full one means that?
So I teach my dogs to flank correctly.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm not using a get out really on my flanks. I actually try to train my dogs where to be versus what the stock are, and they're supposed to read that pretty quickly. But
right.
I mean, I can ask them to get off or get out or whatever I need to do.
You meant to say get back.
Yeah. I'm probably not using your thing to right, but I like when you're putting them in drive or you're putting them in the fetch.
Okay.
Do you use your whistle? Do you have that whistle?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. By the time we're past the puppy stage, they just know. So by the way I'm blowing my whistles, they've already got it picked up. By the time I'm running them in a nursery class, they know exactly what I'm doing.
Yep. There's no more of this get back. It's you've given them the full whistle, and they know they're going to the back, and they're going into the fetch.
That's just gone away, and I don't even know when it went away.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Now, if I'm at Meeker, though, and I'm sending on the outrun, I'll say away, get back, or come by, get back.
Yeah.
I'll say, because I want to make sure they don't, because get back is, so it's just get to your side. That's not side specific. So I don't really get after them if they cross over or what. Get back is just get to the other side. I'd rather they stay on that side.
Right.
But if I want to be specific and make sure they don't mess it up, I'm going to give them, I'll be like, when they leave, come by, get back. And that's telling them, I love to do it at Meeker because obviously I want them to remember that I need all the heads coming to me, especially there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's talk about some really cool shit that you do at Meeker and things like that. We got to see you do some phenomenal shedding yesterday. And how do you work that out and start getting that dog thinking that direction?
I would have liked to have shown you guys that this morning, but since you gotta go.
I know it.
Yeah. No, I start with the bigger group, and I make a pretty big hole, and I bring them in, and I not only do I bring them in, but then I bring them right past me, and I put them right around to the other side, and I let them catch them and put them right back together.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to explain how come, it's hard to picture in this, but I want them to come around and hook. That's one of the times I want them to hook and have a good time doing it. Because when I want them to come through freely and happily. So when I first start, it's not come in and take the sheep off, or try, I've made a hole and they're really having a good time because they come through and I flank them right around in the early days and then they put them right back together.
Almost an inside flank with the other group of sheep. You're like zinging them through.
Yes, I do. And they put them right back together, and then I make a fun game out of, let's come through here and put them back together.
Gotcha.
So the biggest thing I want is them super happy to come.
Yeah.
And if you start with that game, so sometimes I get, people that come with a dog that's barely coming in and they're really slow about it and they're overthinking it.
Yep.
They haven't played the game of go through the big group. I make a big hole. I don't let them lose. I make sure there's room for them to come, and I go both ways, and I just make a super fun game out of that. And then once when I see them on the other side anticipating it and they're wanting to come through before I ask them, they're telling me they really love it.
Yep.
Then I'm going to start stopping them and driving off with that group.
So I'm just wheels spinning there because your dogs always grab the ones that you're thinking of, you know what I mean? And is that because in the early stage you're facing the ones that you want to keep and you have him flank through and around you like you're with them, the group you want?
You're always facing the group you want.
Yeah.
And then they start to learn to read you, learn when they're supposed to wait, learn when they're supposed to come. They're reading what, you're letting them know by your body language what you're going to do and which ones you're on and which ones you're going to let go. And I just play with it and try to make it fun. Shedding is one of the places you cannot get hard on the dogs when they make a mistake. Because you don't know where they'll take the correction. Was it because they feel funny about coming in between? They've been taught to go around the whole group the whole time. And now we want them to come through. So you have to be very careful about your corrections when, like, if they grip one and ride one, sometimes I'll let that go for a while because you're afraid that they'll think it's because they came through.
Yeah.
You don't know where they'll take the correction.
Right.
So I try to never get mad. I just have sores inside my mouth or something and act like I'm not mad when they mess up.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, no, you can't help it. Feel that. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But you can't let them think you're upset. You just reset it up and you do it again. And I like to go somewhere like in my arena. It's super cool because my smaller pen is over there and I act like I really need them in there. And it seems to make sense to them that we're going to take them somewhere and put them somewhere and then he's done. And so I do a lot of that stuff, just messing around. And you guys saw yesterday, I am so lucky. I get to train on fresh sheep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which makes the dogs
It's
think.
a huge
and
plus.
if they're, yeah. And I make sure my dogs are good to them because I've got a good deal with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I see people all the time on the internet ask, anybody got dog broke sheep?
Oh, I always roll my eyes and go, really?
Yeah. I don't like dog broke sheep at all because I feel like they lie to your dog.
Well, so your dog's not responsible for anything.
Yeah, they're doing it for him.
And they don't learn like at the top of an outrun to make sure the heads are going the right way before they come because they're used to the sheep just running down towards the people or there's no real work in that.
And another thing, like you said, that solid pen that you have that you pull off your arena and shove them in the small pen. I got told really early on that gates, dogs figure out when you stuff something in a gate and shut the gate and the job's done, they're like, no, there was a purpose to what we were doing right there. And that made sense to me. So
I do a lot of things that have another purpose. And so there's that for shedding and him feeling like he had a job. But also, as you saw, the fresh sheep don't want in there.
Yep.
So then I turn my back and it's his job to put them in. And he, they will learn, when they're wrong. Because you saw him, how many times did he lose them? A few times yesterday.
Yeah, and he had to work his butt off. It was a hustle. When one slipped, it was like, I got to go get that sucker.
Yeah, and stay correct. And if you're not correct, then what happened? Then he got too close to him, and then they'd get by him.
Yep.
So him learning, those are valuable lessons.
Yeah, he actually had to when this sheep is bending this way, I need to correct myself to keep this under control.
Yeah, to have control of the stock, you can't. The closer you get to the stock, the more advantage the stock has.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now that goes the same if they're too far off.
Yeah.
But if your dog is in the right spot, it's much easier for them to control the stock. So
once you get your dog flanking through and then putting them back together, flanking through, but when you very first say, okay, I want you to control this group separate from the other group, do you do the same thing like you start heading out away from them when they come in?
Well, I've already got it. By the time I'm shedding, my dogs have a really good drive.
Yeah.
So they're already balancing up and understanding their end drive when I drive away with them. So a lot of times I just stay back with them and we drive them to where we're going. And then I'll swap spots and get to the gate and then they hold the other side. You know,
Gotcha.
That's really good.
Just start
practice
making them be responsible for that group and forget the other one for a minute.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And if they lose them back, see what they learn is I just go do it again. Just reset up until I get them in there. You know, that was the goal. And pretty soon they learn that was the goal. I don't make a deal of it. I just go reset it up until I get it done.
Yep. And then they get a win.
They get a win, yeah.
Yeah.
And some days it's just not going to happen. I mean, holy moly, sometimes you do got to realize that you've got to walk away and come back another day.
Well, I mean, in general, you've put literally, who knows, 6 months of training of don't you cut your livestock in half, and then you start trying to say, all right, here's a trick I want you to pick up. You know?
Yeah. I don't hurry it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And JJ, he loves to shed, but, you know, he's an offense dog. So
Yep.
when the sheep want to break and get away from him, you know, he's got to bend out.
Yep.
And get to and get in the right spot. And that's been tricky for him.
Yep. And then the defense dog, you probably have a little harder time inviting them in. They probably got to start with a bigger gap.
So, well, no, Jocko's really good about coming in. He loves to come in. But then when I wanted to drive away, he's got this defense thing going where he's not free rolling right there where JJ is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they all have their things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something else really cool about the big trials is the famous double lift.
Yeah.
So how do you start? Obviously, you got to have the first good outrun. But isn't it that if you go away the first time, your second lift, you got to come by?
Yeah, or vice versa.
Yeah, or vice versa.
Yep. So, you've got to, the biggest thing is you've got to have your dogs happy to let go. Yep. And that's one of the things when I'm starting it also with my young dogs is to be happy to let go. I saw, I showed you a little bit of that yesterday. So I give it to them, they have control, but when I want them to let go, they need to let go and be comfortable with that. And they trust that there's, they're going to get control back. I'm not taking it from them.
Yep.
So it kind of works that way for the look back, So, and yesterday, every time I think you mentioned it a couple times after I got my shed group into the pen, one of the ways I start my dogs with a small understanding of look back is from there, I look back and regather those and go shed off another group.
Yep.
And it's just letting them know what the word was. And so you probably saw that my pups were going, as soon as they put them in there, they were wanting the look back. So I want them to want the look back command.
Yeah.
But basically it's how you set them up. You have to pull them over to the far side so you're careful not to cross the line because, the outrun points are valuable. And setting them up that they'll turn back and be on the proper side. And so they do learn when you put them over there what's coming,
How do you set them up to do the proper?
Well,
because don't they only want you to go look back, and that dog needs to go the right direction,
yeah,
right?
for the most points, yes.
Okay.
So the thing is I just start just like everything. I start small. I'm actually at first in front of the sheep. I'll have a set of sheep close to me, and they're bringing in their set of sheep and to me, and then I'll have them be ready to come off and set up the look back. So when I bring them around, that they know where that first set of sheep is, and I'm on the other side, and I can bring them over. Like, let's just say that I'm going to do a right-hand outrun. Then I'm going to bring them way over to the right-hand side. I'm there, to help them. They take it. They're set up for it. And I do it small first.
At a natural position when they look over,
yes.
That's the flank they're going to take.
Mm-hmm. And they know that. They learn that quickly if they're, pretty clever.
Yeah.
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 And so, that took me a while, to get figured out too. I tried a lot of things. I didn't try to do it properly, small enough, close enough at first. And setting them up over and over to where they understand what's coming.
Right. I think just in my head, it probably helps a lot that your small pen is solid. So when you close that gate, those sheep are gone.
Yeah, they are.
And you're like, look back, and they're like, yep, there's some more sheep, because there's no more sheep in front of them.
It's just, and that's a quick way for me to teach them the word. They sure know what it mean. They sure know what the word means.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A really efficient system. So.
Yeah, it's right. The way things are here right now is super set up to train dogs. I mean, it makes it easy for me. If you have the right setup, it certainly helps.
Right. That's the same thing as being convenient. If you got to load your dogs up and drive 3 miles down the road and stand up panels to work dogs, you're not going to work dogs very often.
It's hard. Yeah. I'm really lucky.
Set up correctly, then it flows good and everything's. I try to do that because, like you said, we've proven that I don't have very good control of my emotions. So I got to set it up as easy as I can so I don't get frustrated, Try to make it where I have a good experience so the dog has a good experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I usually hit a few people with some questions at the end.
Okay.
And one of them is, name 3 people, dead or alive, that you'd like to have dinner with.
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I'd like to meet back up with my friend Bobby Henderson, who helped me early on. A guy I didn't talk about. There's a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of things I could keep talking about, but we got to wrap up. But Pete Carmichael, he was a super cool character. Oh gosh, he's gone. I'd like to meet up with him again. Yeah. Just such a character, and was so helpful for me, but just fun people to be around. And probably my grandpa. He's gone too. He was a guy I looked up to, my whole life. And when I talk about the corrections that I do with the dogs, one of the things I spent my whole life doing is I never wanted to let him down,
Yep.
And I feel like, believe it or not, I feel like the dogs get like that,
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they do.
They do. They don't want to let you down when you have that fair communication and you have the right relationship with them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, he was one of the most important people in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add the other one. I always love meeting up with my friend Eric Wanman. He's like my pal.
Yeah.
That's for you, Eric.
Yeah,
I like meeting up with Eric.
Yeah.
When we're going through Idaho, we like to stop and see Eric. I'd like to meet up with Eric again.
There'll be your table and there'll be Eric's table, just a little bit further out of the way.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys got to get Eric on here.
Yeah, he's got to man up and get on here. He's been putting it off a little bit, but I think he would be great.
He told me he would.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of these times, maybe I'll get another chance, but it'd be fun to talk about selecting dogs and traits in dogs.
Absolutely.
There's lots of topics.
Oh, you could talk for days about it. Yeah.
You can go on forever and ever. It's crazy. And that's why we do it. That's why we do it. It's because the podcast, because we like talking about it, and
and the funny part about it, you probably haven't seen it, but our very first episode, we was 12 minutes in.
I wouldn't watch it.
Travis ran out. He's like, "Well, I don't have anything else to say."
Oh, really?
I'm like, "Holy cow, man! we just started a podcast. We got to learn to talk better than this."
The thing that would be fun to talk about, if I get a chance to do it again, would be, like the markets and selling the dogs and touching all the things, and how one thing is I love to make a successful dog, whether it's for me or somebody else.
Yep.
And that's a really good topic.
Absolutely.
What doesn't suit me doesn't mean it isn't a super cool dog for somebody. That's one of my strong suits over the years is, training dogs that other people have loved to run.
Yep.
And the market of the dogs and having, I'm really lucky that if I don't have a superstar cow dog, I've got another, if it's a good sheepdog, I've got a good market for them, and I have people that want them.
Yep.
And they're waiting for one because, I put a lot of practical stuff in the training.
Yep.
And people do enjoy that. And not everybody has the work for them that I do.
Yep.
So, I know this sounds crazy, but I don't care. If they're not a cow dog or if they're not a sheepdog, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I just work with who they are, and I let them excel. And when I get one that suits me, it's pretty rare that I get one that really suits me.
Yeah.
For what I have in mind, I always make the best out of what I have.
Yeah. I stopped worrying about it so much because when people are looking for a dog, my first question is, what are you going to be doing with it?
Sure.
And because it's so important to fit the dog with the person, because that's the whole thing. You're like, I'm not worried about what that dog is because there's a person out there for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That making the most out of what you have is a big deal, but that's a whole topic.
That's a whole nother podcast,
that's
and we're not afraid to do 2 or 3 of them. We're really not.
I don't know what you got to do to get invited back, but you know.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
What about what was the next one? If you could have a dog over again, who and why?
Oh, that's easy. So I had a dog called Lou, and he taught me a lot, but you know, he was the whole deal. But I was afraid of him at the time. You know, he was a lot of dog, but if I wasn't pushing on him, he was so honest and so talented. He could handle a rank cow or win a sheepdog trial. Just his talent was crazy. And he had a huge motor and huge stamina and all the things. But, you know, at the time when I was training him, he was scary for me because, you know, I wanted to lean on him because of his power threatened me or something. I don't know. But he was the one that taught me to be stepping away from the dogs and keep pressure off of them because he was, you know, 100% honest.
Yeah.
While I wasn't bracing on him.
Yeah.
But if I braced on him, it was not that. You know, it wasn't that. But people, I'd go to a sheepdog trial and I'd be up first number 1 in the morning at 6 o'clock and there'd be all these people watching. Like, he drew people to watch him because he was going to do something fantastic, and it could be spectacularly bad or it could be spectacularly, like,
but he was going to do something cool.
He was going to do something cool. And when he went, if I blew it, usually it was in the finish, you know, because I was pushing on him and probably for a winning run. A lot of times with him it was.
Yeah.
And, but he was also he was the dog that if your sheep, back in the day where I lived, we lived on the Little Missouri River, and of course the sheep would go over the river, you know, in the mornings and go out where I didn't want them, but when I wanted to bring them home at night, and, you know, I ran 500 head, and getting them, he was the only dog I had that could get them across the river without another dog or, you know, he was a real powerhouse dog.
Yeah.
He was hard to shed with, though, because he had more presence. And so he couldn't get very close to the sheep, so he had to come from a farther distance to come in. And that made me really stressed out.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if I had him again, I'd really love to have him again.
That sounds like an amazing dog.
And I still have some of the genetics from him, so, you know, I'm probably going to go back into that.
Yeah, so you might see him again someday.
I might see him again.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I did use him, he never produced himself.
Yeah.
Which was, you know, kind of disappointing.
Absolutely.
The superstars seem to rarely do.
Yeah, you know, I ran a really good little bitch named Star, and I bred her a couple times before I sold her, and, you know, she didn't throw anything. Yeah. But then, you know, the dog that I ran won the back-to-back national nursery with, Ben, he only bred a couple times, and he had a really cool dog that his name was Monster, and, you know, he's gone on. He's been reserve at Meeker. He's been the Meeker champion, and that was his son. And, yeah, Ben
Isn't it crazy how they can produce themselves or not?
Yeah, and so Ben didn't breed very long because he ended up with prostatitis, which was really too bad.
Yeah, yeah.
So there wasn't very many off of him. But
in his short run, he produced several. That's too bad. He couldn't continue.
Didn't it? Anyway, you guys, I've really enjoyed having you here. I'm telling you, I'm disappointed that I didn't get to go work dogs.
I know it.
We were going to go do some super fun stuff.
I know it. I need to plan better next time and have somebody watching the farm better.
I know, it's hard. As soon as you leave, everything goes. You guys are both like, we got to get on the road.
No, well, I've got, what would be one piece of advice for a young handler, novice, someone getting into it? What would be your biggest piece of advice to keep?
You know, right now, that's something that's very different than when I started, is there's so much information out there. You know, figure out who runs dogs like you want to run dogs like.
Yeah.
And look at it closely. And watch what they've done, not just that they sell themselves well, that they run dogs and they have a really depth of knowledge, and hook up with somebody that can help you. Because, you know, it took me forever when I was learning. So, I mean, I'd have to drive to Timber Lake, South Dakota, which was 5 hours, and we were broken. I'd only get to go like once a month, you know, but here's the cool thing I want to say. There's so many cool things that, you know, back then everybody would help each other for nothing.
Yeah.
if I got there, it was all the advice I got was free. There was Bud Boudreau back in the day. He would help me. There were so many people that helped me that did not charge me a dime.
Yep.
And I couldn't afford it then. Yep. It was all I could do to do what I was doing. But, now I really love to pay it forward. I've helped a lot of people and never charged them too. And part of that is that pay it forward.
Yeah.
And, I've helped a few people that are pretty successful.
Yeah, I definitely, I feel like we owe you because we've learned, as much as my brain could absorb in the last day and a half, we've learned a lot,
Well, and, everybody has to find what's right for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, these days, to be truthful, I'm not putting myself out there as I don't want to do clinics anymore. And I didn't ever do a lot of them, but, I do still invite people and they come and they'll stay. I have some nice cabins for them to stay and they get to work dogs. And the reason I do that is because then I can get through all my dogs. And a lot of times I think people learn by watching somebody work their young dogs and then they get to work their dogs and it's a day versus going to a clinic.
Yep.
You really compared to the clinic prices now, I'm cheap.
Yep. Yep.
But I think, and it's not whether it's me, because I'm not even looking to do that, but find somebody that really is what you want to do.
Yeah.
I think it's good advice.
Important.
And, I'm going to say one last thing is the reason that I put the foundation on that I do is I feel like the foundation that I put on and actually I learned that, I was telling you guys that I learned that at that Legacy of Legends clinic that I went to that had 4 different, disciplines in the horses with the same foundation. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if you put the right foundation on them, you can go any direction. So I feel like the foundation that I do can go run a sheepdog trial, or I can go do any ranch job I have here.
Yep.
Or I can go to an arena cow dog trial. And I think that's something you need to consider when you're picking where you're going is what you want to do.
Yep.
Personally, I want to do all the things. I want to go do whatever's fun that weekend. And, the dogs I have right now with the training on them, if I want to go to an arena cow dog trial, they can be competitive there. They can be competitive at a field cattle. They can be competitive at a field sheep or at a timed arena sheep.
Yep.
And so when you're picking, find what is going to be what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the foundation that's going to work for you.
Yep, that's smart.
Yeah.
Yep. And the next one is.
You're still going.
Oh yeah, I don't. You're in the hot seat now. This is Travis's questions.
Oh no.
Quote or joke, or both. You can use a quote or a joke you like to use.
Oh gosh, that's a hard one.
It's the hot seat.
All right. If your aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle.
Yeah. You did tell us a story.
That was one of the Pete Carmichael things,
Yeah.
I'll tell you. So, I think we all do that for a while. Mm-hmm. Like, I would have won if something would have happened. And in the early days, I had a really cool dog, and I went to the Denver Stock Show, and I'd had a really smoking run around the course, and I went through the chute, and I took off running to the pen because I knew I had a good run and I was fast. And when I turned my back on my dog and ran for the pen, I think that was like the energy and the panic in him, and he came in and grabbed one by a hind leg, and I was called off. And later on, we were up in the stands, and I was dumb enough to say to Pete, I said, if my dog hadn't gripped, I could have won. Or maybe I said I would have won. I don't know. Maybe I was that dumb. I'm not sure. But he just slowly turned his head and looked at me, and he said, well, if your aunt had balls, she'd have been your uncle. And I never did that again.
Yep. Stuck with you.
That's a good one. No, mm-hmm. But, we all want to win, and we all want to think about, winning and all those things. But honestly, it's really just everybody has the same thing.
Yep.
Every one of us. Yep. We would have won if.
Yep, absolutely.
So.
You out of questions yet?
That's it.
Hell yeah. Well, Joni, I appreciate you.
No,
it's been fun. Great. The cabins are really nice. It's very convenient. A great place to work, and loaded full of information. It's been
thanks.
a really good visit.
It. Yeah.
We'll have to do another one.
I hope so.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can catch all our episodes of Stock Dogs Unleashed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Don't miss an episode. Hit that follow button. Without you guys showing your support, we can't keep growing. So join us every week for insights, laughs, and all things ranch life. But seriously, hit that follow button.